Hi everyone, and welcome back. In today's video, we're talking about crystals and stones.
Yes, we're going to do a more for a practical series today. We're going to show how to correctly clean crystals, stones. This also works for animal totems that you're using, whether they're made, it doesn't matter what they're made out of. Generally, you don't need to clean herbs because herbs are, you're burning them for the most part. You're ingesting them, you're burning them.
Okay,
If you
okay.
have a sachet of some sort, you can clean those. Same way on a
Hmm.
crystal or a stone. Sucks in the negativity. However, by the time you would need to clean them, they usually have already lost their potency, so you have to replace them anyway.
Okay, okay.
So I've never had an issue with having to clean them. And generally, again, with incense and smudging, it's a one time, one use only.
Hmm.
So they don't accumulate any negative energy to them
Right, right.
for the most part, unless somebody did that purposely. And there are people who do that sort of thing.
Oof.
So if you get them off, what's that, Etsy or
Hmm.
places like that, some of those practitioners do weird things. Same thing with jewelry. You can clean jewelry this way that you wear around.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Rings,
That's
watches, all sorts of things.
metals, stuff like that, yeah.
Yep. Older watches, you're going to want to be a little hesitant on because they use quartz crystals and you're using a quartz crystal to clean. I don't know what the effect it's going to have on the quartz crystal inside the watch.
Okay,
So
okay.
that one, yeah, maybe not. Okay. However, there are quite a few different modalities for cleaning stones and crystals and totems of any kind. Um, the ones that I found to be more effective, put it that way, our crystal clusters are the ones that work the best that I found. Um, However, citrine works almost as well. Kyanite works just as well as citrine. The thing about crystal clusters is that crystal quartz itself is both masculine and feminine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and you don't have to think about that when you're cleaning them.
Hmm.
Citrine is a masculine stone, even though it's a product of quartz.
Hmm.
So, um, and crystal clusters, can get huge. So you can clean a lot more than you can clean, let's say, with a piece of citrine like that.
Right.
Okay. True citrine, by the way, looks like this. It's very, very, very pale yellow. It doesn't have the white
Hmm.
in them and then orange in spots. Generally, when you get those, that is baked amethyst or irradiated amethyst. So it's not true citrine. It does have some of the characteristics of citrine. I have used baked amethyst to grid places. Haven't had a problem yet with them losing the charge or having any negative issue with that.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
I've used them in the past to clean stones. They work. They didn't seem to work as well, and they took a long time for it to do it.
Mm.
Okay? The problem is that it's hard to get true citrine out there anymore. Almost everything you get now is baked amethyst
Right.
that they're selling for it. And I mean, having the sun do it adds potency to the rock. I mean, it just does.
Mm.
So, but again, this is what actual citrine looks like. Okay, and let me grab. Baked amethyst looks like that. See all that white?
Okay, okay.
Okay, that comes from irradiating it. You've got the orange in the tip here. Okay, that's one of the
Hmm.
signs of it. It doesn't mean that every time you see one of these, it's going to be irradiated. It's just one of the signs of it.
Okay.
Okay, but if you get that deep dark orange, it is.
Fascinated. Oh, fascinating.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. It's baked. and
Yep.
you want more of a diluted looking, pale looking yellow. And that's a sign of true citrine.
Okay. Okay.
But a lot of
So
stones
anyway.
are. When you get the really dark smoky quartz, sorry,
Mm.
though a lot of those have been irradiated to get that darkness.
Mm.
So true smoky quartz is, again, it's pale. It's not super dark. A lot of people are doing that because they look better, and people are like, "Oh, that's really cool looking. That must be really potent," and they buy it. And it's like, well, actually, that's been irradiated, so
Right. Right.
it's not true. Um, but anyway,
So
that's
anyway.
that's how you
Yep.
tell the difference. That's how you tell the difference.
So getting back to the
Yeah, for the
cleaning of the
cleansing.
stones.
Burying them in dirt. Okay, it's messy. You have to do
Mm.
it for 7 days.
Oh wow.
Okay, and squirrels, chipmunks, rodents of that type can cause serious issues because they'll come and grab them and take them away. And you'll lose your stones that way. Um, Salt water works really well. You can do it with tumbled. Okay, no rough. Okay, and don't do it with metal because it'll rust them. It'll destroy them.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay, it'll dissolve them. However, salt water also is messy,
Mm-hmm.
and the salt can discolor the stone a bit. So essentially, you have to wash them off when you're done. Okay, so there's cleaning involved, and it's water, so it's messy
Mm-hmm.
because everything's wet. So if you can find a plate like this, it's great. Okay, and you just got this a little while ago.
I got it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple
Yep.
weeks ago when we went out to what's the name of that place?
Rockhound Rock Shop.
Yeah, Rockhound. Yeah, okay, Rockhound the Rock Shop. Okay, in Michigan, great store. A lot of rocks in there. Some beautiful stuff in there.
Oh
Loved
yeah,
it.
absolutely
I
beautiful.
loved it. It's the first time I was there. Love that place. Okay. Basically, if you're going to use a crystal cluster like this is all you have to do. Leave it on there for 12 hours. You can put as many as you can fit on here. The only thing is you really don't want them to touch each other. Okay. Okay. Leave them on for 12 hours. They're cleaned. You never have to clean the crystal cluster because the crystal cluster is self-cleaning.
Okay.
Okay. And you need points on the cluster.
Mm-hmm.
Several different points because they interclean each other. If you just get a huge piece of crystal quartz, it doesn't work. You need to have a lot of points.
Oh, okay.
Okay, separating them.
That makes
Then
sense.
you just take them off, set them aside. Okay, until you are able to charge them. Okay, charging of them. You can charge them in a full moon. You can charge them in a new moon. Most people charge them in a full moon. And I understand that because you can see the light. The light's coming down. Like, okay, it's getting a charge out of that. However, in a new moon, the new moon is conjunct the sun. You just can't see the reflection. But the energy is potent because
Mm-hmm.
they're at the same degree. So the energy of the sun and the energy is hitting the energy of the moon and just flowing right through it, and it's refracting through it. So um, you might even think that it would be more potent than that because full moons are essentially the opposing sign that the sun's in, and it's a negative releasement of those oppositional signs to the sign that the sun's in.
Okay.
So that's more of an opposing. However, at the same time, after the releasement, at least with our ceremonies, we do a pulling in of the positive traits of the same sign. So
Mm-hmm.
you can do it that way too. Okay. Now, I myself have never used a full moon to clean and charge a stone. It doesn't. I don't know if it would last long enough to really do that.
Okay.
Okay. And in order to do that, you'd have to do more like a ceremony or a ritual where you threw the intention of cleaning at this point, and then when you were done, like we do in the meditation, reverse the flow
Mm-hmm.
and then charge them. So I would stick with the crystal cluster for that.
Right. That
to
seems
do
to
those.
make much more
Yeah,
sense and be.
yeah. Now, in the beginning, it doesn't matter. Like I said, and I shouldn't even just say in the beginning. You can charge any stone and any moon, no matter what the signs are. Okay. As you get more accustomed to it, and I've done it quite a few times, there are times where I will wait for the moon to be in a water sign in order to charge stones that are subcategorically water,
Makes sense.
because each of the
Okay.
stones are broken down into elements
Hmm.
and signs. There are different books out there where you can find those melodies. Love is in the Earth is one of the best sources I found. The paperback does not have pictures. If you can find the large, and I mean large, here it is. We'll pull this out. This is the large book. This has the pictures in it. Okay. This book is expensive and it's heavy if you're using it to go places. So if you're going to events or festivals where you're selling stones and people, you want to be able to say, hey, when somebody goes, hey, what is this stone about? Oh, you can just look it up. I take this book where I go, but my back will tell you right now, it would rather have the paperbacks because the paperbacks are much smaller,
Right.
but they
Right.
don't have pictures. That's the only difference. So if you're using it for yourself to look up stones, what could this be? What could that be? This is the book you want. If you know what the stones are, like if you're at a festival or an event and you're selling them, so you know what they were because you had to price them. At that point, you can take the smaller ones and just say, read through these are the attributes. Melody is going to give you more of scientific based, metaphysical definitions of the stones. She will give you the signs, planets associated with them. Um, but she's not going to give you, if you're into the magical aspects and if you're looking for magical characteristics, and attributes, she's not going to give you those. Let
Okay.
me put that
Okay.
back on here. There we go. All right. Okay. For those, you're going to want to go to someone like Cunningham. Uh, his is more based on lore for the most part.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the back, he breaks it down. These are these stones are good for money. These stones are good for divination. He gives you those kind of breakdowns. He gives you elemental breakdowns in the back of the book. He gives you planetary breakdowns in the back of the book. So if you're like, well, I want a stone that works well with Jupiter, you can open up his encyclopedias in the back, his glossary, and look them up that way.
Okay. Okay.
Melody doesn't do that. You have to actually pretty much go through her stones. One thing that she does that's great, though, is that if a bunch of stones are a particular group, she'll tell you that on the stone and say, along with the attributes for this particular stone, you need to look up, let's say, chalcedony or feldspar, because this stone is also grouped with that, so it has the characteristics of that particular stone.
Hmm.
She does those.
Okay.
So
Okay.
um, she's much more detailed on hers, and hers isn't based on lure. She actually did scientific research and experiments on hers. She took subjects, had them work with the stones. Okay. When they came back, if all of them agreed
Hmm.
on what the stone did for them, she put it in the book. If they didn't, she left it out.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of what that is. Um, but again, they're both good references. Cunningham just is more for people who like to do magic and use them for magical things, and she's more for mainly for healing. But she also talks about this was used for attracting money and things of that nature, and wealth and that kind of stuff. But not like he does. Um, his pictures, he's got a little glossary in the middle that has a few pictures in it, but that's about it on his too. So there's not a lot of pictures on those. I know people that use the
Okay.
Crystal Bible. A lot of the stores that I worked for would use the Crystal Bible. It's much smaller. It doesn't have as much information in them.
Hmm.
Okay? And I'm not certain as to the research that went into those.
Okay.
But I do know it's a
Okay.
resource that a lot of people use.
Okay. I was
So
gonna say that's one I'm not quite familiar with, but
yeah, it's been around for some time. It's much smaller. It's easier to carry. It's easier to move to handle than the Melody's book is. However, every store that I worked in that had Melody's book, when somebody asked questions about stones, the Crystal Bible went away and Melody's book came out
okay.
for people, you know. But when we had to go places, a lot of the times it was the Crystal Bible, unless it was in my bag. And
Hmm.
I'd pull it out and be like, okay, you can read through that. Not to mention, a lot of people don't want, 2 pages for each stone. Sit there and read through every single thing that it does.
Right. Right.
You know? Uh, but anyway, great reference for that. Um, you can use them again, any moon. It doesn't matter as far as charging goes. As you get further involved, then you can work through the subcategorical breakdowns. Then you can use your firestones here. Okay, charging in the sun. There are only 2 stones I charge in the sun. One is kyanite, which is this stone. That's blue kyanite. It comes in black too. Okay, you can see the striations on it.
Hmm.
It's a layered stone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, in tumbled form, it looks like this. Okay, that is also kyanite. And citrine are the only stones. And usually, for me, I generally will charge this kyanite in the moon. It's generally only citrine that I charge in the sun. It's associated with the sun,
Hmm.
and it never has to be cleaned.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Ever. Neither does kyanite, just like crystal quartz. Those are the only 3 that I know that don't. There are other stones that clean stones. Carnelian's one of them. However, carnelian has to be cleaned itself.
Mm.
So after you use it, you have to clean it.
Okay. Okay.
But in a pinch, if that's all you got, okay. Then at some point, you're going to have to get a way of cleansing it.
Hmm.
If you don't have a cluster, because obviously, if you needed to use it, you didn't have one. Salt water, as long as it's tumbled.
Okay.
Because again,
Okay.
it can cause some issues. Salt
Right.
water
Right.
can. Yeah, I myself have destroyed a few stones, and I believe I destroyed a couple metals too. Not. I was thinking that they were polished because they looked polished.
Oh. Okay.
I thought they were polished to the point where it wouldn't affect them. Well, it did. So it didn't matter. So it right through
Okay.
it in the beginning. But
Yeah.
those
Well,
are the
it's
mistakes you make when you start doing things.
right. Right.
Um, Now, how often? Depends on how often you use your stones.
Mm.
If there are stones that you carry around with you a lot, if there's jewelry you wear a lot, I say once every 6 months. Clean, charge, okay, program and attune. Now, we haven't talked about programming or attuning. Programming a stone. You want to do that in your dominant hand.
Okay.
Okay? You set the stone in your hand. I'll use one of mine, not yours. So again, a piece of carnelian. Okay? Dominant hand. Close your fist around it. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. If you want to, you can go through your basic psychic level. Okay? That's always a good idea to do before you do these things. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Now, with programming, it's not as important getting to your basic psychic level or completely connecting with the stone, the energy that way, when you're doing the programming. Because the programming, you're programming the stone for what you want it, for what you're using it for.
Mm.
Okay, so if you have a particular um, notion of mine for what you want it, this is carnelian. Let's say I was like, okay, I don't have anything around me. I want to use it for cleaning. I'm going to program this carnelian for cleaning. I would make a statement in my mind of that much. Repeat it over and over and over for about 30 seconds. Okay?
Okay.
And then pause, do it again for 30 seconds. Okay? While focusing your thoughts on the stone. Okay? A lot of times what I'll do is I will open up like Melody's book, hold it in my hand, do a basic psychic connection, connect to the stone, and just start reading. And I do it for every single property that that stone could ever use. Because a lot of the times I don't, when I'm cleaning and charging, I don't have anything specific in mind. And I want to be able to use it for anything, any of the properties of that particular stone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I'm doing a banishment, or I'm going to be doing a banishment, and I get citrine for it, I will program the citrine for making the grid and nothing else that the stone does. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now, every once in a while, I'd say and you could do this maybe every 6 years, you should go take another piece of citrine, place it where the grid is, then take the other stone out. You don't have to clean it, but I charge it again. You can put it back. The grid's not broken as long as you've got the other stone there before you remove it. And you can do that for all of them. And then either switch them out or put them back. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay. That's the programming. Okay. And you set it down and leave it alone for, I'd say, at least 5-10 minutes. Just leave it alone, let the energy settle, let the programming take effect. Okay. Then to attune it, the non-dominant hand. Okay. Most people use their heart chakra or they use the brow chakra. And essentially, all you do is you hold the stone in front of the chakra that you're using. Okay. Solar plexus, brow, sun, moon. Okay. Close your eyes. To attune yourself, you visualize energy from you going into the stone for 30 seconds. Then you visualize energy coming back from the stone into you for 30 seconds. Again, when you're done, set it down. Let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes. What that does is that infuses the energy of you in the stone so that the stone works and it magnifies the effects for you and it dilutes the effects for anybody else trying to use them.
Interesting.
So if you're
Okay.
doing a healing, do not attune them to you before you do the healing, unless it's on yourself. Okay. Otherwise, you're not going to get the effect that you want. Okay. You can do them for any chakra once you get used to it. In the beginning, because it's the sun and the moon, those are the most potent energies. Those are the energies that most people have an easier time using in the beginning before you can start projecting out of other chakras. Those are the two chakras that most people use. And most people actually don't use the sun, they use the moon. They use the brow because it's the third eye. And that's usually where most people start their connections from.
Okay.
That's where they've been
Okay.
trained. A lot of psychic development classes, that's what they use. They use the brow chakra because it's the third eye, opening the aperture and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, okay, get back to that. It's pretty simple. It's not hard to do. You just have to remember to do it and make yourself do it.
Right. Right.
Because all of these stones will collect negative energy. That's what they do. They pull energy out.
Mm-hmm.
And any of you people that do runes, rune stones, you need to clean your rune stones. Okay? Not on a crystal cluster like this, though. I mean, you can do that when you're done. But if you're going somewhere and you're doing multiple readings, I suggest you find something like this. This is what I have.
Okay.
Okay? It's a wood container. There's metal connected into it. There's crystal clusters into it. Okay? So essentially, between each reading, I throw my stones in here.
Okay.
And
And it
it
helps
cleans.
recycle the
Yep,
energy.
it recycles the energy, takes whoever I did the readings for energy out, so it lets the next person's energy flow in. so you don't get
Okay.
any crossover issues when doing those type of readings. Okay. Um, I got this actually at a Goodwill. I found it at a Goodwill, and I haven't seen it since, but I'm sure there's other people that are doing things like this. If you're somebody who does art, this is a good one to do, because that's exactly what this will do for you.
Okay.
Okay, and it's mobile. Okay, another one that's mobile is this one. This is a crystal cluster. It was made into a coaster.
Okay.
Same thing. It'll clean. Okay, now that's not going to give it the deep cleaning that this will, but it does clean excess off. And when you're doing readings, you're not doing them for that long
Right. Right.
on somebody. Okay, I would do this after a healing though, or something of that nature, because that then you need a deeper cleaning
Hmm.
on that to deal with the illness, sickness, whatever was coming into the person
Right.
that
Right.
you're trying to draw out of it. And they do emit energy out. Stones also do emit energy out that you want to use, but they take energy in also. So that's one of the great things about them. They ground. That's how they ground people. They take your energy and they ground it and give their own attributes with it.
Hmm.
They're really great to use. Wonderful. And there's nothing evil about it. I can throw that out there right now. There's nothing evil about using crystals and stones. They were put here to use. That's how it works.
Oh, it's
Okay.
it's almost like incense and essential oils. But
It
there's
is.
there's
Yeah, it is. And those are used in um, graceful ceremonies all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, this thing when you go to the church, that's incense. They burn incense. They light candles.
Mm.
They do all sorts of things. Most of their altars are made of stones, so they use
Right.
all of the
Right.
energy. The people sitting in the pews are the fire energy, essentially, not the candles that they're lighting. We'll get into that stuff later. But anyway, um, so nothing inherently evil about doing these things. Even if you go back to the descriptions of Raphael, God heals. Well, the key in that, when you get into defining him, is that he heals, okay? But he heals by putting things into the earth so that people can heal. So he's actually the one behind how all of these things work if you're
Okay.
Judeo-Christian,
Okay.
okay? And that's what most people miss about that particular angel
But that actually
and
that
how it
makes that
works.
that makes sense with his I don't know if you would say natural state or whatever being one of the seraphim princes.
Yeah.
So not really having direct communication necessarily with humans.
Well, he's also an archangel. He's at the archangel level also. But the only two biblical ones were Michael and Gabriel for the most part.
Hmm.
You know, you have to go to the Book of Tobit for Raphael to pop in.
Right.
But he's just quite popular. He became really popular, even though he's not actually in the Bible.
Right.
But he's in a lot of other works. But yeah, at the seraphim level, yeah, he doesn't. Um, but again, that's his job,
Hmm.
is essentially to heal the earth so that the earth can heal us and everything on it. So again, working through these is working through angelic energy. Okay. Can these be used for dark stuff? Yes, they can be used for dark or light. I mean, that's up to the practitioner using them.
Right.
You know, but inherently they're not good or evil. They're just there
They just are.
to use.
Right.
Yes, utilize
And a
for
lot
good
of
or
that,
bad.
yeah, a lot of the natural energies that we can work with are that same way.
Yeah, well, all of them. Animal totem energies, metals, crystals and stones, herbs, and they all break down into the four elements. So all plants. So herbs, essential oils, trees, grasses. That's all air. Stones are all earth. Crystals and stones are all earth. Metals are water. Animal energy is fire. That's the breakdown.
Right. Right.
When you go way back, like to Plato, that's the breakdown of them all.
Hmm.
That's how they work. That's how you balance energy. That's how you balance an altar or anything else.
Mm.
So if you're using candles, you're off balance. If you're using liquid in a cup, you're off balance. It's not the liquid in the cup, it's the metal the cup's made out of.
Right, right.
Okay. That's how you want to use it. Okay. And then people or animals themselves are fire. Doesn't mean you have to go out and kill animals like they used to do and use their, wing of bat, eye of newt, all that weird stuff that you got from
Right,
like the
right,
medieval stuff. Okay. I suppose, you could do that, but you're using it's the energy's dead
right.
because you've killed the animal. The energy's dead. When you look at how the Native Americans did it, they used totem energy, which is they were pulling energy from live and they were evoking that energy into themselves to utilize without having to harm the animal that they were working with.
Right, right.
And when you use a totem, you're kind of evoking that energy into the totem. You're not stealing the energy from the animal. It's almost like a sharing, a
Yeah, yeah,
relationship
yeah, yeah.
that you're working with. Okay. You're pulling that in. Now, if you're making a totem out of wood, it's gonna be air.
Hmm.
And then subcategorically, whatever you made the totem out of. If you make it out of stone, it's gonna be earth. Okay? If you make it out of bone, it's gonna be fire. Okay? If you make it out of metal, it's gonna be water. So looking at this is metal.
Okay.
Okay, it's an owl, so it's water, and subcategorically it's fire, and then subcategorically it's air. From there, so you've got three divisions of the elements right into that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So, and that's kind of what how you work those things. Okay, and again, you want to clean these too. You
So,
want to clean
okay.
everything you're utilizing.
Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of I guess totems that you could use that are actually made of plastic.
plastic does not take on any characteristics of itself. So when you're using those, you're just infusing the energy of whatever you've created, and you're evoking that energy into them.
Okay.
Okay, because they don't have any characteristics of their own. Petroleum doesn't. It has. There are scientific characteristics like petroleum is gas. So
Right,
you know,
right.
oil, gas, all that good stuff. But metaphysically, it's like working with glass. Glass doesn't either.
Okay.
Plastic and glass don't. That's why you can put, like, let's say you're making, um, you're doing metaphysical cooking, and you want to infuse, let's say, this stone into it. This stone, being malachite, is poisonous. Now, when they're tumbled, they're fine. Okay. However, even being tumbled, I wouldn't want to drop that into a stew I'm making
Right, right.
because there could be one or two spots on there that aren't, and I don't want to poison my food. Okay? And if you have raw malachite, don't use it. Don't ever put it in anything. And if you're touching it, wash your hands as soon as you're done because it's poisonous. But what you can do is you can put that into a plastic jar, a glass jar, and put that into whatever you're making. And the energies will infuse through the glass and the plastic because they don't have metaphysical properties of their own.
Interesting. Okay.
If you
Okay.
put it into something stone or wood or something of that nature, it's going to infuse whatever you put it into with it. And that may not be what you want
Hmm.
and the attributes that you want in the end.
Okay.
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 So getting stone animals and things is fun and nice, like that one. You know.
Hmm.
However, if I want pure owl energy, I'm not using that. I can't.
Right.
Okay? I'm going to use one that's made out of plastic or glass. So, um, if you can get pretty much any animal made in plastic.
Hmm.
They're all over the internet. They're everywhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can accumulate just tons of them. Kids have them all over the place. That's part of the fun, I think, with kids using them. Except they have to be cleaned. They clean really well on crystal clusters. Sucks the energy right out of them. Okay,
Okay.
and doesn't infuse them with them because they're earth and they're pulling energy out.
Hmm.
You know, you have to go in yourself to project energy out of a stone if you're using it. Okay? And you can feel energy coming off a stone, yes. And there are properties, of, especially with crystal quartz, of energy that's projecting out. But the energy that's projecting out is masculine and feminine, and it's clear. I mean, it's clear energy. It's not really infused at that point with anything particular. That's why they work so well
Okay.
for cleaning them.
Okay.
Um, but you know, you can soak animals in salt water too. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of
Hmm.
different ways you can clean them, the animal energies. Um, but I haven't found a particular animal that's good for cleansing animals. In my practices, I haven't found anything that works well
Okay.
doing that. I haven't found an animal that's good for that. There may be one out there that I don't know about whose properties are for that, but I don't know any
It would seem to me to be difficult to find because each
of it. Right.
animal has its own characteristics.
It does. And then charging them, you charge them in the moons, your animal totems.
Okay. So
Okay.
totem charging
Is done by the moon.
is done
Metals
by
too.
metals. Okay. Any of those totems.
Yep. Yep. Now I've been told by there are certain people out there working with metals that say that magnets are good for cleansing metals,
Hmm.
using a magnet to do it. Cleanses metals. I haven't used that yet.
Okay.
Crystal clusters work just fine for me.
Right.
Okay. So, um, and then jewelry, you can just set jewelry on top of one of these things too.
Hmm.
Cleans the whole thing. So, yeah, it works really well. Um, but again, that's how you utilize. That's how easy it is. Okay. Generally, put them on a windowsill so that the moonlight can hit on them, newer, full. You can set them outside in a box if you want. The only problem is that, like I said, rodents like shiny things, and people.
Right.
You may walk outside and your stuff's gone.
Right. Right.
You know, it depends on how secure your stuff is and what you have in your backyard, as far as like squirrels and chipmunks and things of that nature. Because they'll use pretty much anything to make a nest,
Oh yeah.
and birds
Yeah.
too. Birds, I've seen people go out and find things in nests, and they're like, "Oh my god, I lost this like 6 months ago." A bird took it and was like, "Hey, that'll fit right there in my nest." Okay. So anyway, that's how you clean crystals. They charge. You program and attune them, okay, and that's how you essentially use them that way. Okay.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah, and the attunement process is great for beginners, especially
Hmm.
being able to feel energies from something else
Okay.
when you attune. You're tuning earth energy with crystals and stones. You're tuning fire energy with animal totems, air energy with plants, and then metal energy with water. And it's a great way to just be able to absorb it and feel it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, start with your brow, excuse me, then move to your solar plexus, and from there you can start working the other chakras. You know,
Okay.
it can
Okay.
also be a fun and easy way to help begin to open chakras for people who don't know how to do it. Um, you can get metal, bone, uh, stone, and wood pendants are great for opening.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I suggest when you first start, you start with stone because they're grounding.
Hmm.
They're not going to project energy out where bone will because it's fire, wood will because it's air.
Right.
Metals can get a little weird because they're so empathic
Hmm.
that they can open you to things that you're not really ready for yet. Stones generally don't. It's not that absorbing with a
Right.
stone.
Yeah. Oh, like you
Okay.
said, it's solid. It's consolidating. It's grounding.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very grounding, where metals are not. Metals are way too fluid. But that's a good way to just to start with a basic understanding of how these things work and what they do. Okay. The references that I gave earlier, those are great to use. Um, and go out there and find your own. Animal totems, you can get them from Animal Speak, Animal Wise, from Ted Andrews. There are other books out there for them too. They're all over the internet.
Right.
There are some great herb books too. Be careful with the herbs
Yeah, some
because
of them you don't.
some of the authors didn't understand what you can mix together and what you can't.
Right. The chemistry behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So those can be a little tricky. I would go to, if you have questions, pharmacists are good, chemists are good, universities are great. For saying, hey, you guys have a list for particular herbs that you can't that don't interact with each other without being deadly. You know, those type of things. Um, Especially
Okay.
if you've got stones and things that you don't know what they are.
Hmm.
I used to live in East Lansing, right by MSU. I used to go to their geology department. What is this? And they could tell me. Well, sometimes they had to break a piece off in order to do it, but I could always get an answer on what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of times even the stone people don't know what they have
Hmm.
because they're relying on where the people they got them from. Sometimes they don't know,
Right. Right.
but somebody who studies rocks for a living will know,
Hmm.
or at least know how to find out what they are, what the makeup is, and say, okay, this is this.
Right.
This is what you got. Because some stones are strange. You get huge boxes. Worked at enough stores to where these huge boxes come in, and then two or three of them don't look anything like what they're supposed to, but they're that. You know, and I used to always grab those, and sometimes I'd kick myself in the butt later because 2 months later I'd go look at them and go, "What was that thing again?" And you can't tell by looking at it because the coloring's not right. The way it's supposed to look isn't the same, and then I'd have to be like, I got to take a trip out to MSU with a big box full of rocks. Um, but
Okay.
essentially, that's how you utilize them. That's what you're trying to do.
Right.
Okay? And it's better to start working on them on yourself than it is working with other people.
Oh, absolutely.
Always.
And again, earth energy is a fantastic way to begin working with these energies. So,
Yes, yes, it is. It is. Um, but as far as these go, I think we're done.
all right. Well, thanks for joining us for this little practical venture into crystals and stones. Uh, we do look forward to seeing you next time. And remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.